Okay, so this video I'm going to make is going to be very shit, so if you've got better things to do, you don't have to watch this. Don't watch this video because it's just, I'm the bride of Christ and I am kind of fantasizing about the future and what's going to happen when a group of people come and take me somewhere else, and this woman has made a video talking about the bride of Christ. It's titled Messiah's Bride Will Soon Fly to Jesus. I am not believing in Jesus, so I'm not waiting for Jesus. I am hoping for a nice big house with a pool somewhere in America. I like the sound of Diddy's Enterprise, illegal transportation, and I can be an illegal immigrant because Americans love illegal immigrants. But I was a Leah, so technically I was an American in my past life, so that kind of gives me like a slight right to live there, right? I think probably not, because it's all about your birth and where you're born. But anyway, I was born there in my past life, and I just need some help getting on a plane and flying to America, and then I need the keys to a nice big house. But yes, anyway, let's just talk about this video.
I'm of the persuasion that believers should always be pressing into God first for revival, then signs and wonders, healings, miracles, everything positive and hopeful, right up to the moment of the rapture when Jesus appears to take his church, his bride, away to his Father's house.
That's
Let's
me.
continually believe for revival and lead great moves of God and press into the Lord for maximum results. Think of a gauge reaching 100%. It has been taking centuries throughout the generations, but soon, someday, the true church of believers will reach maximum fullness. And then, when the Lord is fully satisfied with the complete number of the Gentiles in the church, as Romans 11:25 teaches, he will come for us.
So basically that's what is happened throughout the timeline. People have been living lives, in the Roman times, in the ancient Egyptian times, in the Victorian times, and all the times in between, Tudor and Elizabethan, and all these different gauges. And my higher self has been selecting lots and lots of people who are interested in the truth and not just interested in whatever the preacher tells you, interested in wanting to know facts. And okay, you couldn't really tell facts before because the Bible is full of fantasies, but at the same time, if you don't know the facts, then you can't really tell it. But my higher self has been engaging who has the true spirit of Christ, who equality between women, I think, was the main thing that she was actually looking for. So she was looking through the timeline to see what's the possibility that Christ could be a woman? What's the possibility that males can be that a female could be God, or males can be equal? And my higher self would have done tests on people throughout the timeline, and whoever would have guessed a highest or more accurate result, equal, males and females are equal except for physical properties and stuff, genetical connections and stuff, and yeah, so she has been selecting people throughout the timeline, and she has birthed them all into this life. So she's taken all the souls up from the beginning of the timeline, or throughout the whole timeline, and she's birthed them all into this age. But yeah, she's mixed them with all these Gentiles who don't have the truth and who are just seeking whatever they want, and they're wanting to believe that they are the bride because that means that they can go to a different world. And okay, if you're living in a really horrible world, then maybe that's would be why you think that. But yeah, if you live in a pretty nice world, nice houses, nice people, or semi-nice people around, you shouldn't be wanting another world if you realise that there's actually quite a lot of nice things on earth. But yes, that's what's happened, and there is going to be a point where I've told people this, and I've told them this 10 years ago, and I don't know why they've ignored me for so long. It doesn't make any sense. But at some point they're going to choose to help me.
So let's do all we can to be sure God's gauge reaches 100% and overflowing fast.
I think all the people have already been selected. They've been selected from their past lives. I'm pretty sure all the angels, which are the singers and celebrities, they've had 10 lives before, and they've already been selected over the timeline. In fact, they might have actually I think a lot of them might have actually been the first ones born when I came to Earth and had a child as Eve. I think a lot of them were the first ones born, but all the others, people that have good businesses that are doing well and stuff, she's been looking and helping those who deserve to be helped. Although I know a lot of them are sexist, but everyone's sexist. In a world where everyone is sexist, trying to help only the good people is really hard when there doesn't seem to be any good people, but there's good and bad in everything, and yeah.
Shalom, I'm Christine Darg. Many believers are pressing into God for genuine revival. The strategic hour that we're living in is not the time to be despondent, hopeless, and discouraged. This is the time to stir up our faith. In fact, it's thrilling to live in these days that could well be the end times prior to the rapture. But as even now we see the foreshadowings of the period that will be known as the Great Tribulation, we pray for the salvation of our loved ones and friends. We pray to the Lord of the harvest to bring to our minds and our paths all those with whom we should share our faith, for God knows who is open to the truth and who is not open at this point.
So people who are open to the truth would be people who are able to believe that Christ could be a woman and that Jesus isn't actually the Christ but is actually the Antichrist. That is the truth, and I think my higher self probably does have an idea on who will be open and who won't be, because if I tell people that I'm Christ and I'm female, and all they do is just not want to watch or not care or just say this is ridiculous, then my higher self knows that you are not interested, because she knows how you would react when you first see me. I don't know when people are going to first see me, but whenever people first see me in the media, that is how people will react, and God knows which ones are going to react well and which ones are not going to react well, because she can see your reaction. But because she can time travel, if she sees that you react well, she might even go back time and actually put you in a different position, hence make you have more wealth. People with wealth have power, and therefore people who have wealth are often going to be selected by my higher self to have this power. A lot of people who have wealth and power have done it through stock markets or just through making good decisions. Now, part of making good decisions could actually be my higher self encouraging you to make good decisions. My higher self lives inside people's brains. Hence, if you were wealthy at one point and then lost all your money for making a couple of bad choices or bad deals, there's a chance that my higher self could have actually done that. If you want to blame the devil for everything, God and the devil is the same person, and maybe God has deliberately made you lose all your wealth or deliberately helped you gain wealth. I think that's how I would do it. I would look to see who can actually spiritually connect with me. And I know sexism was always going to be a problem, because that's been the reason why it's taken me so long to come here. But yeah, I think there is a lot of you, though. If my higher self has made some mistakes and given the wrong people put in power, I think the wrong people have been put in power because everyone is wrong, and it's like choosing the best monsters out of a big selection of monsters. So yes, if you think the people at the top are all monsters, well, that's just a sign that actually everyone on the planet is a kind of monster.
Point in time. Presently, God's hand is behind the scenes in international affairs, and he is giving this world a big wake-up call with numerous calamities. But these are only the beginnings of what the Lord Jesus called the end-time birth.
It's really strange. When terrible things happen, you're like, oh yeah, God is responsible for that. And this is a sign of the calamity that's about to happen. And you're talking about it like it's a good thing. It's like, yeah, I'm not really responsible for calamities, but I'm not going to stop them. I know there's a lot of problems that are going on in the Middle East, but when I look at the Middle East, I hate the clothing. I hate the clothing and the burqas, and I just think that I have other things to talk about, and I want to try and focus on just the things that I feel I can talk about. when it comes to problems in the Middle East. I don't want to say that I'm causing it. I definitely don't want to say that I'm causing it, but I also don't want to say that I want to help. I feel like no one's helping me, and therefore I have to focus on. I'm this woman, basically. I'm this woman, and I'm going through birth pains because I know that there's way too many people in this world, and I have to focus on myself because there's way too many people here.
Birth pains. At the very end, birth pains come fast and furious and rapid fire just before a baby is born. And the Lord has also given us the primary end time sign, the blossoming of the fig tree. Israel was the fig tree, and it became a nation again.
So Israel is not a nation, Israel is a person. I am this Israel, and I haven't actually blossomed yet because the world doesn't know about me, but a lot of people do. I know the singers and celebrities, and there's a whole bunch of people, perhaps even in the UN or the government. I don't know, who knows, but bit by bit, more and more people are becoming aware, and at some point the people who know are going to tell me the truth about how many people know. You know, if they turn around and say only 100 people know, well, I would be like, how? You know, there's so many people that seem to spiritually know. So if only 100 people consciously know, I would be hugely shocked, because that means that my spirit is so powerful. You know, this woman, she's talking about me. She is talking about me. She has no clue who I am. She thinks Jesus is female. She thinks Israel is a nation. But she is talking about me. What she's saying is actually about me and the growing of me. So how a fig tree has a couple of leaves and then gets more and more leaves. So if you imagine the leaves on the trees being lots of different people, at 11 years ago, because I found out that I was Christ 11 years ago, and I guess no one knew it back then. I think the people that I told, they would have believed, Martin or whoever that group of people were. I think they might have believed, but I don't even think they would have believed. It's likely that they were looking for a female sacrifice to sacrifice because they didn't think that God was a male. And then after years of me saying that I'm God, I think maybe they finally believed, or maybe they believed straight away. I don't know. But things that I saw the media do and the singers and celebrities do, it made me feel like they had no concern of hurting me. And I think they did that because they didn't see me as God. They saw me as the sacrifice who thought she was God. And I don't know how long they believed that for, but that's what I believe happened. Singers and celebrities are told that I'm some sort of sacrifice and that I have to be ignored for, I didn't know it would be 12 years, but it's looking like it's going to be 12 years. It's been 11 and a half so far. And yeah, so like this fig tree, over these 11 years, it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and I've gotten more and more angry because everyone is ignoring me, but people are still talking and connecting to me. And yeah, at some point, people are going to tell me how many people have made this covenant to know about me and to believe in me, but to ignore me.
Miraculously, in 1948, we just have to...
She thinks that this blossomed in 1948. No, it didn't. I was born in 1987, and I only found out in 2013. But she is being deceived because the world has, spiritually, things that are going on in Israel is spiritually to confuse people so that they think that Israel is talking about a nation in the Middle East, but it's not. It's talking about a woman. So it's like a way of hiding the truth. If you have the truth, you will realize that the bride who's called Israel in the Bible is not a nation of people that's at war and have silly clothing. Both Jews and Islamic people have kind of silly clothing, but I think I don't like burqas. I think they're very insulting to women, and therefore I'm more insulted at their clothing. But technically I'm not on either side. No, I'm on the side of people who believe that I'm God, and I'm not even on the side of people who think that I'm Christ, because if you think that I'm Christ, you might just think that I'm a sacrifice and that you don't have to listen to me or respect me. You know, that's what I think happened in 2011. I thought 2013, when I first believed that I was Christ, I thought a bunch of people knew that I was Christ, accepted that I was Christ, but because they didn't accept that I was God, they were happy to kind of insult me throughout their music, throughout their songs and stuff. And I think that's what happened. So I'm not happy with people just thinking that I'm Christ. I'm God. I'm God.
Turn on the TV or check our news feeds to realize that end time events are increasing faster than ever before. In the New Testament, 2 Peter 3:10 says, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief, in which the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the elements will be destroyed with intense heat." Talk about global warming.
If you think that the elements shall disappear and you're looking forwards to this day, I think there's something wrong with you. The Bible is full of, it's like there's truth in there, but there's also a ton of lies, and people who are stupid will believe the lies. Now, if you're looking forward to the day that Earth gets blown up, in a way, there's nothing wrong with that, because I've lived a really horrible, shitty life. I feel like an alien on a planet that I don't belong on. I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are not my people, but who go around calling themselves my people when really they don't have the truth, and they're just trying to make out themselves better than others. I've had a really, really horrible life, and if the world blew up tomorrow, I wouldn't care, because I've lived such a horrible life. I've spent the last 11 years living basically in isolation. My family are useless. They have no ability to believe, and they're very, very stupid. And I feel like I'm living in a fish tank. Only I'm the only orange fish, and all the others are guppies, and there's maybe some neons as well. But I feel very different and very alone, and therefore, if this world burnt up, I wouldn't care, because I don't feel anyone is helping me. Now, if you want the world to burn up because you've lived a horrible, shitty life, then fine. But if you haven't lived a horrible, shitty life, if you've got people you can talk to, if you are the same as people around you, if you shouldn't have this desire for the world to want to burn up. And if you are that type of person that wants that wants the world to burn up, wants your friends, your family to burn up, not for a justified reason, but for an unjustified reason. If your brothers and sisters are all drug addicts who just try and steal off you, then it's fine to want them to die, because there's reasons for it. But if you do not have a justified reason for why you want lots of people to burn up and for the earth to just burn and just be destroyed. If you don't have a justified reason, then you're not a nice person, and you're not on my side. And that's what people don't know.
And the earth and its work will be burned up. And the Apostle Paul also wrote to believers in the New Testament.
And by the way, that will happen one day. Earth will burn up one day, because it's getting closer to the sun, and it's going to heat up and burn. So that will happen, but that's not going to happen for a very long time. If you're looking forward to it happening next year, then I think there must be something wrong with you, because this is your house. That it would be like being like, oh, I've got a lovely house, but I can't wait for it to burn up tomorrow, and then what? For you to go live on the streets? I mean, is that what you want? These people have a delusion that there's a better world and that there's just a quick fix and stuff. And I just think they're not very smart, because you shouldn't want your house to just burn up tomorrow and for someone to just magically take you off to somewhere else. It kind of makes sense for me, because I know I'm God, I know I'm Christ, I'm surrounded by people who are not my species, and I feel isolated and alone and like no one cares. And I don't want my house to burn, but I want to go somewhere else. And if this house burns, or if someone doesn't like me and doesn't believe that I'm Christ and wants to burn up my house, as long as my beanie bears and fish and hamster is safe, I guess I don't really care, because it's kind of a shitty house. But yeah.
Saying, let's not sleep as others are doing, but be alert and sober. And he said,
to be alert and sober, you have to be aware of what people are saying. This woman is saying that she can't wait till the elements and the fire and the world burns up. If you are awake, you would be like, why do you want the world to burn up? I mean, you would want the people to be judged and for bad people to go, but you don't want the world to just set on fire and explode. You shouldn't want this. If you want this, then you are asleep.
And while the world is crying for peace and safety, destruction will come suddenly like birth pains. So my question to you and myself today is, are we preparing our hearts for the second coming of the Messiah, while Bible prophecy is being fulfilled at an exponential speed.
To answer that question, I am the Messiah, I am Christ. How do you feel if you don't believe this? I mean, if you don't believe this, you probably turn over the video and you ain't watching this. But if you do see this video and have been forced to watch it, are you ready for me? And if you're not ready for me as the Christ, then you have not prepared yourself for the truth that I am Christ, and you have to be saved, you need to believe Christ. But part of what I'm going to say is that the Bible is full of nonsense and shit. And if you are not ready to hear Christ say that, and say that this is what it takes for you to be saved, for you to just forget the Bible and realize that there's mixture of truth and lies with it.
Now, the historic announcement of the Abraham Accords, peace between the physical descendants of Abraham, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates, it's a fulfillment of Bible prophecy for which we've prayed and longed to see. The Bible itself predicted that the Gulf states would come into alignment with the Jewish state. But it's not surprising that the leaders of Iran and Turkey are aligning themselves in opposition, just as Ezekiel chapter 38 prophesied, because Turkey and Iran are furious that Arab nations are falling into place, being at peace, and normalizing relations with the Jewish state. It's very significant, and certainly...
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't really know what's going on in the Middle East. There's a lot of people down there, and I don't want to just judge people by what country they're born in. I think that's a very unfair thing to do. I think you should judge people by the choices that they choose to make. And okay, if you have been born into a family, it's probably because the spirit, the matrix has recognized that you're the child, the souls of the children are similar to the souls of the adults. So I think there is some truth to it. But yeah, I think both Jewish and all religions are wrong in lots of different ways. What these prophecies are saying, though, is that I am Jerusalem, and the world is going to come against Jerusalem, not because the world is coming against Israel. I mean, it kind of is in a way, but it's actually making a prophecy about me. But if you're focused on the worldly things, then you're going to be focused on what's going on in the Middle East because you believe that that's Israel. Whereas if you knew that what the Bible was really saying, you were saying that is talking about a woman feeling isolated, like the whole world is ganging up on her, and no one is trying to help her or do anything, because they're all being tricked into thinking that Israel is something different.
Should be a wake-up call for the church that nations are coming into alignment according to Bible prophecy. The United Arab Emirates is basically inside the territory of biblical Sheba and Dedan, territory that was prophesied to be in alignment with Israel, according to Ezekiel 38, verse 13, and therefore the Arab Emirates will not be a part of...
If you knew that Israel was a woman, and this, I don't know, but countries always turn against each other. This is something that's happened throughout time, and if all the less evolved souls are going to be born into the Middle Eastern areas, they're going to be just like England was 1,000 years ago, and there was lots and lots of wars and chaos and stuff in England. So this is all it is, the repetitiveness of, I think it's people not being happy in their lives and with their stuff, that with what they have, that they always want more. Hence this is a conflict and people living... in England, the thought that England will not go to war with France because the idea of England's houses just being destroyed, is too devastating, that both France and England will do anything we can not to have a war with each other because we don't want to lose our houses. We don't want to lose all the things that we've done. There's a lot of nice houses in England. There's a lot of nice houses in France. None of us want our houses to be destroyed, so we are not going to create wars with each other. But I think in the Middle East, the houses look like sand castles. The houses look dusty and dirty, and okay, the people there don't want their houses destroyed, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are not seeing it are not appreciating what has been done, and they're not realizing the devastation that having all these houses would having them blown up would cause, and therefore the thought of going to war with their neighbours is like, well, we don't really care. We don't really like these houses. So what if they get burned? You know, there's such and that's kind of how I feel. You know, some of these houses look horrible, and if they did get blown up, okay, there's some nice ones, but if some of the ugly ones got blown up, a part of me would feel like I don't really care. Whereas in London, you know, there's some really, really nice, you know, buildings that have been made hundreds of years ago, and to think that these might all just get destroyed. You know, it happened in World War One and World War Two, and you know, the problems that it caused, it takes 20, 30, 40 years to fix, and the devastation of that is so devastating that no one in the more developed countries wants to go to war, whereas in Israel and in the Middle East, you know, I feel like the buildings aren't quite as nice, and therefore losing them is not such a pain. But if they do lose them, and if they do have to spend it, you know, the next 10, 30 years building them up again, you know, I feel like this would be enough to think, you know what, we don't want war, we don't want this. But yeah, I think there's also a spiritual thing, because there are too many people here, and I think it's going to continue. I think the war is going to continue, and it's probably going to get worse. You know, I'm God, and Islam and Jewish people think that they worship God, and technically, if you don't worship me, then you don't worship God. And I think when people realize that, it will give a sense of coldness in these areas, because the leaders will know that I'm God. The leaders will believe that I'm God eventually, or maybe they do already. And I think this will make them feel less caring towards their people, when they know that these people don't worship God, and these people can't be told the truth because they wouldn't believe it.
Confederate forces that will attempt to invade Israel. Those invading forces will include Iran and Turkey, and that's according to Ezekiel 38 and verse 5. Bible prophecy watchers know that eventually the Antichrist will confirm a 7-year covenant in the region, and that's according to Daniel 9:20.
You're saying this, but you're not realizing what you're actually saying. Israel is me. I need to make a 7-year covenant with people. And I'm a little bit confused as to this, because some people say that the 7-year covenant is a peace deal. And well, for peace to happen, war needs to happen first. And I have been at war with the world for the last 11 years. But yeah, is the 7-year, you know, there's a fake sacrifice that I want to set up just to find out who's actually on my side. People who want to hurt me or do things against my will, these are people who are not on my side. That is, doing things against my will, that's wrong. Doing things against my will, if I say don't eat shrimp because I don't like it, and you want to eat shrimp, well, technically that's up to you. But what's against my will? I don't like naked, actually, nudity. Like, what's that Ryland did that nudity show. I mean, technically it's not wrong, but that was kind of against my will. But that's an example of something that, okay, it's against my will, but so what? So what if there's a dating show where you have to dating naked or something, you know? I would say that that's an example of something that's against my will, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. So what? I don't really agree with it, but it's not like it's wrong, it's not like it's bad. So doing some things against my will is not always a bad thing, and that's an example of it. But yeah, there are some things that against my will, you know, I don't want to be hurt, I don't want to have this, and there's going to be a test. But is the 7-year tribulation, I think it's going to start when I first get exposed as being Christ. But technically, if the 7-year tribulation is where I am saved, then technically the 7-year tribulation should start the moment my sacrifice ends. So if it ends on September the 14th, 15th, then that's, I guess, would be when the real 7-year tribulation starts, because that would be when I'm raptured into a sort of safe place where I hide for 7 years. But yeah, there's a chance that the 7-year tribulation will kind of start when people first are told about me, because that's when the problems will arise. So I don't know. 7 years is, I mean, I've always thought that the maximum I was going to be ignored for was 7 years, and it turned out to be 11. So maybe there's a possibility it might be like that. There's a 7-year tribulation, but really the 7-year tribulation is not a 7-year tribulation. It actually turns into an 11-year tribulation. But I know that I should probably hide for 7 years. I feel like that is a message for me, saying that I need to go through a lot of shit. I need to put up a fake sacrifice, and then I need to go and hide in a house for 7 years, and at the end of the 7 years will I come out and start doing things in the world.
27. And more peace agreements are in the making, and Saudi Arabia already will allow Israel to fly over its airspace, and this speaks volumes. We should look up for all of this prophetic news points to the soon appearing of the Lord in the rapture. Many Bible prophecy teachers are agreeing that the Abraham Accord between Israel and the UAE is a sign of the second coming. But before the Lord returns, first, prophecies in the book of Daniel.
I think people at the top, the leaders at the top, need to all come together and work out what to do. There needs to be a set plan with all the leaders at the top. The leaders at the top need to stop seeing the other leaders as enemies, but rather see them as they're all players on a chessboard, and they all have a different group of people, and laws have been made in certain countries because that is what the people want, and what the people want could be a reflection on how the world needs to be treated. Some places the death penalty is not legal, and I think that's a sign that murder should definitely not be involved, whereas some places murder is actually just part of an everyday life, and I feel like that's a reflection that more people in those countries need to die because there's more people that think that it's fine. There's a few hundred years ago, you used to be able to be killed for being a witch or something like this. Some ridiculous beliefs. What happened to Joan of Arc was pretty stupid. She led an army and people thought she was too powerful for a woman, so let's kill her because she must be a witch. I mean, I read that story I read it yesterday in the story. I was thinking, what? She got killed for being accused for being a witch. Is that true, or is this just some false story? I don't know. But just in the past, a lot of people had false beliefs. But I feel like how the governments are set up is a reflection on what needs to happen in their country. In America, a president can just a new guy can just come in, change everything around. I think that's a sign that someone needs to go in there and just change a lot of things. Whereas in England, you have to first become part of the parliament, and then you have to sort of work your way up, which shows that probably not that many things need to be changed. And I don't really know about the governments in different countries, but I think you all need to work together and realize that the enemy are people that least agree with God, and that is me.
In the Gospels and in the book of Revelation have to be fulfilled. However, the rapture, when Jesus appears suddenly in the atmosphere to collect his church, will be a signless event. No Bible prophecy needs to be fulfilled before the rapture.
Well, this is me waiting for the group of people to come. I've been waiting 11 years. I feel like I've lost hope that it might never even happen. I don't know. I know that I do not want to be doing some fake rapture if I'm over 40. So if you do come and get me in another few years, because I'm 37 now, 38 in April, I'm getting older, and if you're planning on waiting for me for another few years, then I'm going to get someone else to propose as me. I'm going to find someone in their probably 30. I think 30 would have been a better age for the fake sacrifice. I will get someone in their 30s to pose up as me and just test the world through that. I think 40 is just too old for that. I think it's I want to test the world on what they, but I guess I do need to aim for the older people. I don't want to aim for the younger people. But yeah, anyway, maybe 40 isn't, but 41 definitely is. But I don't know. There's a point where I don't want to do it. But yeah.
Which is clearly described in 1 Thessalonians 4:17 and 1 Corinthians 15:51. That's why the sudden appearing of Jesus in the rapture is considered imminent, whereas his second coming to earth requires many more specific prophecies first to be fulfilled.
So I'm waiting for a group of people, and there doesn't have to be a sign, but I'm expecting there to be a 40-day warning, so I can, I want to eat the food in my fridge. I want to make sure that I'm not, like, I hate wasting foods. I want to make sure that I want some sort of warning, and I would love to believe that that it's going to be this month, in October sometime. But I'm not seeing any actual warnings or any signs. I know P. Diddy has been arrested, and I think the whole thing's fake. But is that a sign? No, because he technically could easily be in hiding for the next few months. And I don't know. But I would love there to be a big build-up. And I don't know what that build-up would be. The world being... I don't know, because the world should... I need to recover first, and that could take a long time for me to recover. I know what actually a good sign would be. AJ Miller, something happening with AJ Miller. He's the real Jesus. And so... I know if AJ Miller does come on the scene first, then I know that my time is definitely very near. But technically, I kind of would like to meet him first. I'd love to be the first person to meet him before he rises. But I don't know. Maybe you could do something with him. That I don't know. If I saw something about him while still not very famous, and him talking about something, then I think that could be a sign of I would like a sign for when you're coming, and I don't know.
Now, how do we reconcile the fact that the Bible appears to teach two aspects of the second coming of Jesus? Well, as we study the Bible closely, we discern that it describes a time when Jesus will come in the air to gather his church in the blink of an eye, whereas other verses describe...
In the air is code for on TV. In the air, that's how Sky TV, Air TV, you travel all this broadband and stuff, you're getting the information through signals through the air, so that's what it means. Jesus, I think Jesus gathering people up is actually through hearsay, through nonsense, and that's when I come and call myself Christ. People who refuse to believe that I'm Christ and still want Jesus, they're going to be gathered up in the air through TV, through stuff, and they're going to continue preaching about the rapture and about how it's about them and not me. And then at some point they're going to be told that actually the rapture is about suicide, and that's how you go through the air to be with Jesus. But yeah, it's a suicide cult. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are not ready for me, and are going to be hugely disappointed because of all the excitement that they've believed in, all the lies that they've believed in about how they're going to be taken to a better world. I'm going to do a part 2 on this because it's getting a bit long.